I hear the term futurist. I feel like you should have a cape and some other magic power. What exactly do you do?
Well, my job is very pragmatic. I look 10 to 15 years out and model what it will feel like to be a human and live in the future. And I do that because at Intel, we make the chips, and we need to know today what people will want to do 10 years from now. So I map out a vision for the future so that we can then take steps today to build it.
So you say you can turn anything into a computer now.
Yes.
What does that mean for our future?
See, that's why I think the future is going to be awesome. Because as we pass 2020 and move into the future, the size of the chip gets so small. It's about 5 nanometers, which is about 12 atoms across.
Wow.
So it means we can turn anything into a computer, right? We could turn this desk into a computer, my jacket, even my body into a computer. So it really fundamentally changes the question we ask ourselves. Instead of asking ourselves, can we do it? Can we make a desktop small enough to fit on somebody's lap? Can we make a laptop small enough to fit in somebody's pocket with a smartphone? We have to ask ourselves, what? What do we want to do? When you can turn anything into a computer, it really changes even how you think of the world.
It's interesting because, I mean, we used to think, 10 or 15 years out that not that much would change, and now things can change so quickly, it seems.
Right.
I mean, how do you see our communities changing given this technology?
Well, one of the things that we could use all of this computational power for is to make us more sustainable. I think this is really, really important. I think it's something that affects not only families, but affects the country and affects the world. So we're also doing some work down in Texas where we have a community, one of the greenest communities in the world, and using computational power in people's houses, in smart grids, to really make sure that we're using as little energy as possible. And we can use all of this intelligence to really dial it in.
All the things you've mentioned are certainly cool. But what is the next big thing you think that's going to surprise all of us that people aren't even aware of or on their radar?
Well, for me, I'm a huge fan of robots and robotics. And so I think we can start to use robots to be social actors with us, to kind of work in the home with us. You can think of them as smartphones with legs or laptops with legs.
This is not like Siri. You're saying this is like a freestanding, it will be in your house.
Yes, a walking, talking robot that is there to act and interact with you.
We had in the studio last week a Bionic man. It cost $1 million, but
50% of him was like real parts. They had reproduced parts of the human body.
So I guess my question is, how far away is this really now?
Well, I think, and so in my time scale, we start to look at what can happen in the next decade. And because we can turn anything into a computer, we can start to do that. Now, will we have bionic men and bionic women kind of walking around the street? Maybe. We have to kind of ask ourselves, right, what? Do we actually want to do that? Do we want to have that going around? And what we're finding is it's more about having comforts in your home, making people's lives better, making their health better, basically having that effect. I think where the bionic stuff and the really kind of space-agey stuff looks great is like with first responders and doing things with FEMA and with the military, where that's where we really need that tech. I think sometimes I'm a bit of a kind of a boring futurist because I always want to say, well, how can we actually, take something that's really mundane and make it really smart and make people's lives better? And I've got a great example. So a great example is this shelf that we've been working on. So the idea of taking, like in retail, having a smart shelf, right? Doesn't sound that exciting. But now imagine you walk into the grocery store and maybe your son or daughter has a nut allergy, right? It's very, very serious. I mean, that can be life-threatening. So imagine you walk in, the shelf with your smartphone or possibly your smart jacket or whatever knows that your son or daughter has that allergy. Now imagine every shelf that has a product that has nuts in it or was prepared around nuts goes dark and says, don't go here. I mean, that's a really concrete example of how we can use all of this technology to literally save lives.
Well, Anthony, I think you're a very cool and not boring futurist. So
Cool enough for us. Well, I don't know what that says about us, though.
Ryan David Johnson, thank you again.
Thanks, guys.